Hi folks, welcome to EDU 210, Personal Development, Health and Physical Education, Curriculum and Pedagogy. So this is the second of two PDHPE units in your course, and in order to achieve in this unit, we need to consider what we already know. So we need to remember our learning from the PDHPE Foundations unit that you would have studied last year, most of you. And as a result of that unit, you should be able to do many of these things. So define health and well-being. Where does this come from? Some of the social settings where you can promote health and well-being in students. And you need to think about, remember how schools create an environment where students can develop knowledge, skills and abilities in PDHPE. So some of these terms should jog your memory. So some of the determinants of health, the protective factors and the risk factors. So the determinants of health are those things that will make it more or less likely that an individual will thrive. Protective factors, they reduce the likelihood of a person suffering a disease. So some of those things that we can do to ameliorate disease. And the risk factors, those factors that make it more likely to develop a problem or a disorder. So obviously some of the things that determine health include the social and economic environment, very obviously the physical environment, and then the individual's characteristics and their behaviours. So while these factors combine together, it's not all determined by their circumstance or the environment. So to a large extent, where we live, the state of our environment, our income and education, those things have a massive impact. But that's not the only impact. So an individual is often unlikely to be able to control some of the key determinants of health. Obviously, we have some influence or impact, but it's not always within our ability to control our income and social status. Our education can be somewhat controlled. Our physical environment is sometimes determined for us. Some of the social support networks are determined for us. Genetics, unfortunately, is one of those things we can't change. Access to health services is an extremely important one. It's going to vary for many students, whether they're rural, metropolitan, or living in the city. And obviously there are gender issues and some of the different types of diseases that are specific to a particular gender. It's important to note that the context that people live in has a massive influence on their health. So oftentimes blaming the individual for poor health or even crediting them for good health is not really appropriate because so much of it is out of their control. But obviously, this doesn't mean that we can't improve our health, improve our situation. And in your assignment in the first or the foundations unit, you will have demonstrated how a settings-based or environmental approach can make a difference to health outcomes, particularly for your students. So you also use some important principles. Some of these contributing to health, obviously, some of these included seeing health as a positive concept, preventative approaches to health, and that's particularly important for young people. Dealing with one issue at a time, not overwhelming people. Doing things with people rather than to people, so we don't want this interventionist type approach. We want people to own the changes that they make to their health status. We also want to build skills rather than just giving and transferring knowledge. and making sure all of the policies and practices are aligned. So we also came to understand some of the common health issues, risk factors, some of the problems that can be eliminated through lifestyle or behavioural changes. And I know many students or those people between the ages of 17 to 24 will be taking some risks in terms of some of these risk factors, including smoking, alcohol consumption. Diet and nutrition can sometimes go out the window when we're under pressure at university or with a young family. Physical inactivity, or even lots of physical activity and excessive exposure to sun. So certainly some to think about. Also and this is something that's quite timely in the news at the moment, the insufficient vaccination or anti-vax movement that is defined by the World Health Organization as the number one challenge that we're facing at the moment, or that they're facing at the moment. And also, obviously, unprotected sexual activity. So this unit will highlight how the settings-based approach and the behavioural approach fit together. So schools create this health-promoting setting for everyone who's there. They're based on policy and procedure. They partner with other organisations. But this unit is about what is taught and how it's taught. So developing skills to teach some of these health-based interventions. So it's all about learning to plan effective teaching, using a range of strategies to assist with teaching, and to help you as teachers determine the best approach when dealing with sensitive issues. So hopefully at the conclusion of the unit you will have an improved toolkit and have some understanding of some skills that you can use immediately to develop students' knowledge around the PDHPE. Good luck.